October 11, 2018, the Phanar Synod presented a series of scandalous decisions that virtually blew up the Orthodox world. At that time, the biggest attention was attracted by the clauses about the restoration in Ukraine of the ancient Kiev Metropolis and the lifting of all bans imposed on Filaret and Makary.
Це формулювання звучить як визнання канонічними і патріарха Філарета, і митрополіта Макарія.
And behind these scandalous decisions, there was left unnoticed the last clause of the document, which reads as follows: to appeal to all stakeholders to prevent appropriation of churches, monasteries and other property, and also any other violent actions and vengeance, so that peace and love of Christ may triumph. Practically in all statements of Patriarch Bartholomew and other Phanar hierarchs in Ukraine, it was stated confidently that Constantinople only brings peace and unity to Ukrainian Orthodoxy.
Ми приїхали сюди не для того, щоб розділити українське православ'я, а наоборот, зробити ще більше кроків для того, щоб принести те всім бажане єднання до Української православної церкви.
Наша мета і наш критерій Константинопольської церкви – це здійснення того, що може об'єднати священних дітей.
But then, why was such a strange clause needed? After all, what appropriation of churches and violent actions could be in the now united and happy church under the patronage of the Phanar? However, this clause exists, and it was not accidentally enshrined. And it should be remembered by those who believe that Constantinople simply did not know about the real state of things in Ukraine and sincerely believed that the bestowal of the Tomos to the schismatics would bring peace and prosperity to all Orthodox believers of Ukraine. The Phanar did know, and it was written precisely to disclaim responsibility. In fact, this clause painfully reminds the famous episode in the Gospel story. The schismatics and patriotically minded citizens have shown hostility towards the faithful of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church for a long time. But what is happening now in the villages of Western and Central Ukraine can only be described as harassment, banditry and raiding. Literally every day, the media, central and local authorities cheerfully report on the voluntary transfer to the new structure of one or another parish of the UOC. The scenario of such transfers is usually the same. A church community, according to the adopted Bill of Ukraine 4128D, holds its own meeting and votes for loyalty to the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. However, in parallel, the activists of the Kiev Patriarchate, the local authorities and the radicals hold another meeting, which is also called an assembly of the church community. Their decision is the opposite: to transfer to the OKU. And although people voting there do not go to church and often are not even Orthodox, the authorities take their side and cheerfully report on the actual transfer. Anyway, what happens to believers who absolutely legally vote for loyalty to the UOC? And what happens to their temple? Everything is simple. Believers are expelled. Those who disagree are beaten and thrown out. The doors of the temples are cut with a grinder. Sometimes they are cut with a chainsaw. Sometimes they are just broken with a crowbar. And there are so many such cases that it is impossible to show everything in one program. As we can see, the Phanar's intervention not only failed to bring peace and unity to the Orthodox of Ukraine, but on the contrary put the country on the verge of a religious war. Priests and bishops, reporting in social networks on the next seizure, often accompany this with the hashtag Bartholomew look. Still, the question arises, where are these seized temples transferred? The question may seem strange, of course, to the new religious structure. However, even with the most superficial analysis of this structure, lots of questions inevitably arise, and the main ones are: why are the communities from the UOCKP and the UAOC not admitted there, and does the OKU exist altogether? The structure of each local church as a whole is the same everywhere. The parish community is part of the structure of the local diocese and is subordinate to its ruling bishop. In turn, all the dioceses of the church are subordinate to the religious center, the metropolis or the patriarchate governed by the primate. Both the Kiev Patriarchate and the Ukrainian Orthodox Church fully copied such a structure. The OKU is considered to be established on December 15, 2018 at the Unification Council. Then we recall the Phanar, which had never recognized the Kiev Patriarchate and Orthodox Church, insisted that these structures should be dissolved. And the schismatic stated that this requirement was met.
Постало питання і умова, що доки не буде рішення, підписано про розпуск Київського патріархату, представники Вселенського патріарха не розпочинають роботу помісного собору.
That is, on December 15th, the Kiev Patriarchate and the Ukrainian Orthodox Church ceased to exist. What does it mean? It means that the structures of both schismatic churches are completely liquidated. Their eparchies were abolished, and all the parishes previously belonging to that, about 6,000 in total, have not been subordinated to anyone since then. The next step was to create a new diocese, appoint diocesan bishops, and then hold meetings in each parish of the former Kiev Patriarchate and the Ukrainian Orthodox Church to enter the new structure.
Як бувші УАПЦ і УПЦ КП, вони також мають переходити до нової структури. Ми чомусь це упускаємо із виду. Вони ж не автоматично, вони ж не перереєструвалися. Вони мають старі статути. Їм також треба проводити такі ж самі зібрання, які проводяться на сьогоднішній день. Вони не автоматично злилися і включилися. Ні.
Всі релігійні громади, які належать до Київського патріархату та до Української автокефальної православної церкви, з огляду на те, що їхнє керівництво вирішило припинити діяльність і війти до складу так званої Православної церкви України, вони повинні прийняти відповідне рішення у відповідності до своїх статутів в протокольній формі про те, що вони змінюють свою підлеглість і переходять до так званої Православної церкви України.
The decision to establish dioceses should have been taken at a meeting of the Synod of the OKU, and this decision was made. On March 4, 2019, the Synod of the OKU created the Diocese of Pereyaslav-Novye, one with the comment as an exception. And this diocese was created for the ex-metropolitan Alexander Drabinko and intended exclusively for transfers from the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. That's all. No other diocese was created in the OKU.
Я би сказав, що сьогодні Православна церква України складається виключно із парафій, які були названі вами Української православної церкви.
There is a paradoxical situation. The UOCKP and the UAOC, which were supposedly dissolved, have not been removed from the registry of the Ministry of Justice and are still functioning. Their dioceses did not merge in one structure, duplicate each other, and, having changed the name to the OKU, still exist separately. For example, in Ternopil, there is a diocese of the OKU, which is the UOCKP, and another diocese of the OKU, which is Orthodox Church, and each has its own bishop. The situation is the same in Volyn. In Vinica, there are generally 3 dioceses and 3 bishops. But the main thing is that the parishes of the Kiev Patriarchate and Autocephalous Church do not hold their meetings to transfer to the Oku. Only the communities of the canonical church are driven there.
Жодна парафія з Української автокефальної православної церкви не перейшла до ПЦУ. Аналогічно можна сказати і про Київський патріархат, релігійний центр якого зареєстрований, не ліквідований. В них є свої осередки, єпархії по всіх регіонах, а також жодна парафія з Української православної церкви Київського патріархату не перейшла до ПЦУ. Але чомусь всі намагаються в примусовий спосіб, за участі представників місцевої влади, правоохоронних органів, допомогти перевести парафії Української православної церкви до так званої православної церкви в Україні.
The schismatics are already fighting with each other for those temples that are taken away from the UOC. For example, in the village of Shklin in Volyn, on March 4th, the community of the Borisklab Church of the UOC was transferred to the Diocese of the Oku, that is the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. However, later, other raiders from the Oku, that is the Kiev Patriarchate, came and with the scandal transferred the temple to their jurisdiction. Having received the Tomos, the schismatics did not change internally. And this can be seen clearly by the behavior of the Oku activists who come to seize the temples of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. In each case, the contrast is striking. The UOC believers are singing prayers, while the Oku activists are singing a hymn.
Ми співаємо вірою, а вони гімн України.
And even in cases where the patriotic raiders manage to seize the church building, the community of the church does not disappear anywhere. In fact, from the hundreds of transfers to the virtual Oku voiced by the authorities, de facto as of the end of March, 43 communities have passed.
До так званої релігійного угрупування Православна Церква України перейшло 43 релігійні громади.
What about the other hundreds of communities? The rest do not go anywhere and do not unite with anyone. They serve Christ.
Христос був на землі, то не було єдинства. Одні йшли за Христом, одні йшли проти Христа. І так ця історія повторюється до сьогоднішнього дня. Одні йдуть за Христом, одні йдуть від Христа, а ми йдемо за Христом і хочемо бути з Христом.
Believers of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church serve in houses, garages, sheds, or simply in front of their seized temples. They choose this path. And there is a paradoxical situation when, despite the massive propaganda of hatred towards the UOC, more and more people publicly declare their affiliation with the canonical church. On the Feast of the Triumph of Orthodoxy, tens of thousands of people took part in the UOC cross processions across Ukraine. And priests say that the number of participants has increased significantly in previous years. Particularly crowded was the religious procession in Rovno, a region where, with the assistance of the authorities, dozens of seizures take place, while the SBU initiate criminal cases against the priests. People ironically say about such paradoxes, the Tomos helped. Well, the Tomos did help. The life of the church is changing before our eyes. The priests begin to realize they should appreciate every parishioner entrusted to them. The believers begin to appreciate their temples and realize this is not just a place where they habitually come on Sundays. This is their family, a meeting place with God, which they might lose. When the entire state machine and media are focused on the propaganda of the pocket political church and the destruction of the true church, the effect turns out completely opposite. Persecution of the church has always led to its strengthening and glorification. And the words of the Holy Prince Alexander Nevsky, "God is not in might but in truth," is nowadays evidenced again.